Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today, Paul and I are opening a conversation that we both feel is long overdue. I have a pressure to being constantly positive in the manifestation world and how that pressure may be doing more harm than good. If you ever felt like you needed to hide your sadness, protect your anxiety away, or force a smile just to keep your vibration high, well, you're not alone. And you're not wrong for feeling uncomfortable with that advice. In fact, that discomfort is a clue. It tells you that something isn't quite aligned. It tells you that maybe, just maybe, authenticity matters more than performance. The idea of manifestation depends on non-stop cheerfulness is a belief system that has grown popular, especially in online spaces. But let's be honest, it's not sustainable. Human beings are not wired to be happy all of the time, nor should we be. Our emotional landscape is complex, textured, and meaningful. Each feeling we experience, yes, even the uncomfortable ones, has something to teach us. And when we ignore that truth and instead try to paint over our real experience with a layer of false positivity, we don't raise our frequency. All we do is end up creating fiction, the kind of fiction that slows progress, clouds intention, and makes us feel further away from the very things we want to attract. And that's what we're unpacking today, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of deeper alignment. We want to explore what it really means to manifest from your truth. Not from a script, not from an aesthetic, but from the core of who you actually are.
That's beautifully said. And it's something I see more and more people beginning to question. There's a quiet revolution happening. People are getting tired of pretending, tired of feeling like they're failing spiritually every time they have a bad day. And that actually is such a positive shift, because it moves us closer to emotional integration and farther from emotional suppression that's disguised as spiritual discipline. Let's talk about the emotional impact of trying to fake positivity. When you push down what's really there, whether it's grief, fear, frustration, or just plain old exhaustion, you don't erase it, you store it. It actually stays in the topic and it lingers in your field. And instead of manifesting from a clean, grounded space, you end up creating from a place of internal contradiction. One part of you is saying, I am abundant, but another part is whispering, no, you're not. Look at your bank account. That creates tension. It splits your energy, and no matter how many times you recite the affirmation, if the deeper belief is, I'm not there yet, that belief is what the universe responds to. That doesn't mean affirmations are useless, not at all, but they only work when they're aligned with something you actually believe, or at least are growing to believe. You can't override emotional truth with language alone. You have to meet yourself where you are. And that's really the heart of today's talk. The power of honest emotion. The transformative effect of feeling what's real instead of covering it up in the name of saying high vibe.
Exactly. And I think it's helpful to remember that this isn't about indulging in every passing emotion. We're not saying let your anger run your life or sit in sadness forever. We're saying recognize the intelligence in your feelings. Listen to them. Let them guide you, not define you, but inform you. Your emotions are your built-in guidance system. They tell you when something is out of alignment. They alert you to unmet needs, suppressed truths, or misdirected energy. Ignoring that is like driving with your GPS muted, or worse, trying to get somewhere while insisting you're already there. And here's the paradox. The more you allow yourself to feel your emotions fully, the more quickly they move through you. Emotional honesty is cleansing. It clears the static, the confusion, the overthinking. And from that space, clarity emerges. From that space, new opportunities begin to open, not because you force them, but because you clear the clutter. Let's take an example. Say you're feeling deeply frustrated that your manifestations haven't arrived yet. Instead of pasting over the frustration with fake excitement, what if you sat with it for a moment? What if you wrote it out, named it, gave it space? That simple act of acknowledging the feeling begins to neutralize it. It says, I see you, you're valid. And often that is all the emotion needed. We forget that our emotional states are not problems to fix. They're conversations we haven't finished yet.
That's such a helpful way to see it. It leads into something I think we need to talk about more in the conscious creation community. How to work with uncomfortable emotions instead of fearing them. Let's take anger, for example. Anger gets a bad rap. We're taught to suppress it, avoid it, label it as low vibe. But anger, when acknowledged and directed consciously, is incredibly clarifying. It shows us where our boundaries lie. It shows us where we've been abandoned ourselves or tolerated too much for too long. It can catalyze decisive action, the kind of action that creates movement, progress, momentum. When you reach that point of, I'm done, it's not necessarily a breakdown. It can be a breakthrough. That energy, when harnessed with self-awareness, can become the very fuel that propels you forward out of passivity, out of indecision, and into clarity. The same goes for sadness. Sadness connects us to depth. It slows us down, yes, but not in a bad way. It invites reflection, asks us to reassess what truly matters. Those so-called negative emotions are not the enemy. In fact, they're often the gateway to your next breakthrough. But when we avoid them, when we pretend we're fine, we miss the opportunity we stay stuck in the surface layer, endlessly repeating mantras, wondering why nothing's shifting. The shift doesn't come from pretending, it comes from presence.
And presence, real presence, is built on acceptance, not complacency, not resignation, but the willingness to meet life as it is, to meet yourself as you are. And from that acceptance comes a quieter, deeper kind of alignment. One that doesn't depend on mood, one that isn't shaken by temporary emotional waves. Instead of trying to manipulate your state to fit a narrative of high vibes, you begin to root into your own center. That's where true detachment lives. Detachment isn't a trick you perform. It's not about repeating, I let go, I let go, I let go 100 times. It's about naturally softening your grip because you trust the unfolding. You trust that you're supported, that your worth isn't hanging in the balance, that your value isn't contingent on how fast your manifestation arrives. That energy, that soft confidence, is magnetic. It signals I'm grounded in myself. I know who I am and I'm not waiting to feel whole. And that's the point when manifestation often accelerates, not because you finally got the script right, but because you stopped trying so hard.
So maybe the most radical thing we can do in our reality creation practice is to stop performing. Stop pretending we're further along than we are. Stop trying to manufacture emotions that simply aren't there. And instead, we show up honestly, authentically, with all of it. The doubt, the fear, the excitement, the hope, the tears and laughter, because that's what creates congruence. And congruence is powerful. When your words, your energy, your beliefs, and your actions line up, you become a clear signal. And clear signals attract faster than forced positivity ever will. So if you've been chasing high vibes, if you've been exhausted from trying to think positive all day, maybe it's time to try something else. Try being real. Try resting. Try trusting if your full emotional self is not a liability. It's the compass pointing you home.
You're allowed to be whole, you're allowed to be honest, and you're allowed to build a life you love from the truth of who you are, not the image you think you need to project. That's real manifestation, and that's where your power lives.
Thanks for spending this time with us. If this message resonated, consider sharing it with someone who might need the same reminder. And if you'd like us to explore any part of today's conversation more deeply, let us know in the comments. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so that you don't miss future episodes. We appreciate you being a part of this journey. Until next time, think differently, dream boldly, and create consciously.
I'm a quiet rebel, I don't need a shower. Changing the world from the inside out. No fists in the air.